Some cars are legends, not because of how many were built, but because of what they achieved. The Porsche 550 is one of those cars. A machine born in the early 1950s, designed with one purpose: winning races. It wasn't the biggest nor the most powerful, but it was one of the smartest, the lightest, and the most determined. And in the right hands, it became nearly unstoppable. This is the story of the Porsche 550, the original giant slayer. To understand the Porsche 550, you have to go back to the roots of the company itself. In the early 1950s, Porsche was still a young name in the automotive world. The company had only just begun making its own cars, evolving from its early days of designing vehicles for others. But Ferdinand Porsche's philosophy was clear: efficiency, lightness, and balance would always win over brute force. Porsche's first real success on the racetrack came with the 356, a small, lightweight sports car based on Volkswagen parts. But the engineers in Stuttgart knew they could push further. They needed a car designed from the ground up to race, a true thoroughbred. And so, in 1953, Porsche unveiled the 550. At first glance, the Porsche 550 doesn't look intimidating. It's small, only waist-high to most people. It doesn't have the screaming V12s of the Ferraris or the thunderous V8s of the American race cars. Instead, at its heart is a modest but brilliant engine, a 1.5-liter four-cylinder masterpiece known as the Fuhrmann engine. This wasn't just any four-cylinder. It was an air-cooled flat four with dual overhead cams, producing around 110 horsepower. But horsepower was never the 550's secret weapon. The real magic was in its weight, or lack of it. The entire car weighed just 550 kilograms, or about 1,200 pounds. Its lightweight aluminum body, tubular frame, and mid-engine layout gave it razor-sharp handling. It didn't have to outgun the competition, it could simply outmaneuver them. And when it hit the track, the world took notice. The Porsche 550 made its debut at the 1953 24 Hours of Le Mans. Up against much larger, more powerful competition, it seemed like an underdog. But that was exactly where Porsche thrived. The car's efficiency, aerodynamics, and durability allowed it to finish first in its class, a stunning performance for a brand new race car. That was just the beginning. Over the next few years, the 550 became a dominant force in endurance racing. From the Carrera Panamericana in Mexico to the Nürburgring in Germany, the little Porsche was winning everywhere. It could take on Ferraris, Jaguars, and Mercedes, cars with twice the power, and still come out ahead. But it wasn't just professionals who fell in love with the 550. Privateer racers, independent drivers who bought their own cars, found it to be the perfect racing machine. It was simple, reliable, and fast. Then, in 1955, something happened that would seal the 550's place in history forever. James Dean, Hollywood icon, rebel without a cause, and a passionate racer. Dean had started competing in amateur races and quickly fell in love with Porsche. In 1955, he purchased a brand new Porsche 550 Spyder, nicknaming it the Little Bastard. It was his dream car, the ultimate expression of speed and freedom. But tragedy struck on September 30th, 1955. On his way to a race in Salinas, California, Dean's Porsche collided with another car. He was killed instantly. The crash and the eerie stories that followed about the supposedly cursed 550 only added to the car's mystique. Though tragic, Dean's death immortalized the 550 in pop culture. It was now more than just a race car, it was an icon. Porsche continued to refine the 550, introducing the 550A in 1956 with a lighter, stiffer frame and improved handling. Once again, it found victory at Le Mans and countless other circuits. But as the 1960s approached, Porsche had new ambitions. The 550 paved the way for its successors, the 718 RSK, the 904, and eventually, the legendary 917. Each of these cars carried forward the same philosophy: lightweight design, precision engineering, and an underdog spirit. And yet, even today, the 550 is seen as one of the purest race cars ever built. Only 90 were ever made, making it one of the most sought-after Porsches of all time. When they do come up for sale, they fetch millions, not because of luxury or rarity alone, but because of what they represent. A car that defied expectations, a car that took on the giants and won. The Porsche 550 wasn't just a racing car. It was a statement, a belief that intelligence, agility, and engineering could triumph over sheer power. It set the foundation for everything Porsche would become. Even today, when you look at a modern Porsche, whether it's a 911, a Cayman, or a Le Mans winning prototype, you can see the DNA of the 550. It's in the mid-engine layout. It's in the lightweight philosophy. It's in the refusal to accept limitations. Some legends are built on horsepower. Others are built on something more. The Porsche 550 was proof that sometimes the smallest car on the track can cast the biggest shadow. And that's why decades later, the legend of the Porsche 550 lives on.